Hi, Julie Torrens here. So we worked on this the last time we were together, and I really like it. And I'm excited to start using it as a collage paper, but I want to do more. So I'm still using my Amazon Basics watercolor paper. I just did a wash, and I'll just save this one out. I just did a wash over them, and I did not tape it down. That's why it's a little bit curvy. I let it dry, and then I put magazines on top, so it is a lot flatter than it was. But I want to go and make some more collage papers. So I still have these left over from the documents that I got from the Library of Congress, and it's underneath their use and reuse section. So I'm going to just tear some of these documents to put on top because I think they're very cool. And I'm tearing it both towards me. I'm tearing towards me and away from me so that I'm getting a different edge as I go along. So I'm going to tear this and grab this signature. But I encourage you to take a look over at that Library of Congress and just see what you think. Okay, we can put one here, and each of these is a little different looking, so that's why I'm going to use you. I love this, don't you? Let's see if we can grab some of that. Good. Still gonna, I've got those others. We'll see how many of these we can get done. So how are you? I hope you're doing well. Maybe I'll just have 2 instead of 3. Let's get the glue stick out. Now these are collage papers, so I'm not worrying or even thinking about things like wanting to have symmetry and balance and all that, because I'm planning to tear them up or to cut them up. I'm going to print some of them on cardstock. I'm going to print some of them on regular paper. And I just printed these documents up on just regular printer paper, nothing special. I figured they're supposed to be old and crinkly and unreliable, and so okay, we've got those glued on with some glue stick, and I'm just going to move my glue paper, and I've got my watercolors. Now I believe, sometimes what I say and what I do isn't always the same, but I try to be the same. Got just a variety of watercolor brushes, some paper towels, some water, and I've got my Rosa Gallery paints. And they looked strange to me because I didn't have them in the same orientation that I usually do. All right. Taking a medium brush, this is my Princeton Snap. It's a number 6, wetting my brush. And I'm going into a color called Umber. A little bit more water. I didn't activate these, I could. I'm just gonna this is just water in a reused hair. It was like, a hair thing. Huh. hair product. And I'm just going around that raw edge. And this is my version of inking up the edges. I just put the tip in the water. Now, obviously, I didn't give that glue stick. I put the tip in the water. I didn't give that glue stick a chance to dry, but it'll be okay. I did have these papers. If I didn't say it before, I don't remember, but I let them dry really good. If you hold your watercolor paper that you've watercolored on up to your face and it still feels cool, then water is still trying to evaporate. Okay, I'm gonna just turn this and I'm gonna work on this one, and I'm gonna use this time sepia. I think that's what this is. Yeah, sepia. A little different, why not? Now, compared to the one I did before, which was just on white watercolor paper, this one is already been watercolored on once. It's gonna act a little different for a lot of reasons. For one, if there was sizing, which I'm sure there is on the paper, which is kind of like a starch. I'm putting the tip in the water. That has changed because it's been wet. And just the fibers, and this is a cellulose paper, so it's wood pulp, and it may have some cotton in it. I kind of doubt it, but it might. Okay, this is a little bit dark. I just have a wet brush, and I'm just gonna move that around a little bit. Here too. There. Okay. I want it to look more accidental, you know what I mean? Now, I was kind of going for a neutral look on this, so I'm going straight into that umber again. And I'm just going to make some places. We're a little tippity-toppily here. I'm just going to make some places that I can doodle in later. Now, I know that I went all the way to the edge with my watercolor, so I think I'll go all the way to the edge here. The background is already... I'll square that up a little bit. I am not worried about having these, perfect 90-degree angles or anything like that. Nope. And since I'm using umber on top of all this, the colors that may bleed up, and there probably will be some of that, they go together. So I'm not worried about it. Just let them blend, be fine. Okay, good. Yep, let me give this a turn. How about down here? I'm going to go into the sepia, and I have some of that right here. And let's see. Maybe like this. Little water, little sepia. I could go right over like that. Yep, I could. Now my printer is a laser jet, so it can handle water on top of it. If you have an inkjet, I don't have one, but what I have heard other artists say is if you let that ink dry good, real good, like overnight, then when you use wet mediums on top, it doesn't, some say it doesn't bleed, some say it doesn't bleed as much. We've all got different printers, different inks, different all kinds of things. So, okay, I'm going into the yellow ochre, which is one of the colors. All these colors I've used so far are in this. And I've got some yellow ochre right here. And I think this time I'm going to let the documents sit on top. I could be using a little bigger of a brush, but I've got this one going. We're not in a hurry, are we? Today is April 3rd, 2025 when I'm recording this. Okay, I like that. I think I'll do another something or another with that color. What should I do? Should I start a flower? I can try. Let's see what happens. Maybe a flower right here. All right, I'm gonna put dots, and the watercolor is gonna act real different on this paper. So I have no idea what we're gonna end up with, but let's just see. It's beating up a little bit. Too much water. Get a little more pigment. I'm gonna have to play with it a little bit. That's okay. And even if it turns out kind of sketchy and weird, I don't care. It'll be something on here. I got a little bit more pigment. Can you see it? I hope so. I'm going to get just a little bit of this color they call flame red. And I'm going to put dots around the center again. Okay, wet my brush, dry it off, get all the water off of that ferrule and everywhere, and I'm just going to push. I'm going to push this orange color into the petals. And you know, I can come back and highlight this even with colored pencils or markers, you know, whatever. All right, a center for this flower. I think I'm going to go into a yellow, which is called Cad Yellow Light. I'm going to leave a space. The paint is really resisting from the darker inks, and that's fine with me. I think I'm going to just put a little of this yellow around the edge. I'm just going in straight into the pigment. Just the tip of my brush into the pigment, not watering it down. Okay, I like that. I think I'm going to take that same, I just went straight into the pigment, no water, no nothing. And I'm going to give it some of these lines again, like little folds. Okay, let's let that be. I'm going to put some green, although that's not really keeping what I was going to say. It's not really keeping in the neutrals, but what I can do is I've got some green here, and I can touch the sepia. It's giving me kind of an olivey green. I want more sepia. That's a real olivey green. I'm going to add a little more green, and I'm going into the color called emerald green. And I'm taking a drier brush, really picking up this sepia, adding it in. All right, we're going to call that the color, a neutral green. All right, and I think I'm going to go like right off of the flower. And I'm going to make some little leaf stems. I'm using a bigger brush than normal for this, and that's okay. And there. making just teardrop shapes. I can already tell I'm going to want one in there. The closer to this, where the stem would be coming from the plant, the larger the leaves. If they're all the same size, don't worry. And don't think a little leaf doesn't sneak in there every once in a while. Closer, closer in, they sure do. But for the most part. I'm really getting excited to tear into these. You know what I mean? I want to start using them to make some tags and some embellishments and ephemera. Okay, I like that. Now I think I'm almost out of this color, but there's more here than you might think. And I'm just gonna give it a leaf here. I'm gonna dip my brush, just two little swipes of the tip into that emerald green. Nice. That looks good to me. Yep, it all looks good to me. Okay. The yellow is just a little bit wet. It looks like pretty much the rest of that has dried. I'm going into the burnt sienna, kind of a redder brown, and I'm just gonna go like dot, 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 right along the edge of that yellow, just to get another ring of color in there. Okay, I just dragged the tip in. I can see water. Get that off. And again, I'm just making some little tip. Again, tip of the brush. Okay, good. Yes, that looks good. Okay. I'm thinking I want some more green in there. So I'm going to get that sepia. Ooh, now it's dark, huh? It's because it's been activated for a little bit. And some of this emerald green. It's going to be darker. And you know what? That's okay. I think I'm going to rinse this brush out, give it a dry. I'm going to pick up a smaller brush. Another Princeton Snap, and this one is a number 2. Didn't even wet it. I'm going to put right like that. So this one's going to be a little finer. I realize that maybe you can't even hardly see, but it's there. Good. I put the tip in the water, not the whole brush, not the ferrule. I'm going to make this a little bigger. And this one a little bigger. Okay. A little more paint. And again. Good. Now, let's get those filled in. If you can hear some noises, it's wind. Yep, lots of wind. You know, I normally talk about geese and things, ducks. They're not out today, not that I've seen. We had rain all day yesterday. Sometimes stormy, windy, sometimes just a straight down rain. I saw ducks, I saw geese, but today it's sunny, but wow, is it windy. And yeah, I'm not seeing any of the ducks or geese. Okay, that's coming along good. I'm not going to add a big swatch of the green, but let's get another color. Now these dots, that is English red, and I'm going to use some of that. Some of that green's getting mixed in there, that's fine. And let's give it a turn. And here, water, let's get the water off. Okay. And I'm going right into that other one. Yep. Now, if you're wondering if you can dry this with the heat gun, you can. If you've done like I have, and you've got some things glued on with glue stick, the heat may want to lift that. But when you just wash in a background, you can use a heat gun. I didn't, just because of time. You know, I wasn't going to be able to stop and work on it some more anyway. But you certainly can. Let the paint bleed and drip and do what you want it to do first, because the heat gun will push the paint around as well if it's still fluid. Okay, and I like that, and I like the way that's one on top of the other. I'm liking these colors. Should I do another Indian red? Is that what it's called? English red. I didn't think Indian red didn't sound right. Pretty watery. Go right off the edge here. The reason why I am concentrating these on going off the edge, at least here and there, is because my printer already leaves a white border. And, you know, maybe I could trick it into having it bleed off the edges. I don't want to, because my printer doesn't use ink. It uses powdered toner and heat. And I don't want that toner to just be loose in the machine, because that's not good for it. So, okay. Enough tech talk, huh? Well, we definitely got room for some more. How about just regular yellow, but I'm going to mix it in with the yellow ochre that I had already going. And it'll give us a different shade again. Now, we're going to be doodling and highlighting these different shapes. I'm going to be using my Poscas. Maybe I'll use some colored pencil this time. It's gonna be a real mixed media kind of project. But I am liking this. I'm liking this very much. What else? Maybe just some splatters? How about that? All right, rinse this off. Get a bigger brush. This is a Grumbacher 1/2 inch square brush. And, oh, did you see that? The green splattered. Just because a drop of water hit there and it went pshh. I'm leaving it, but I'm not going to add more. I'm gonna use the, what color? Sepia? No, I think I wanna use umber. Okay, get another brush. Now things are going to dry at a different pace, so be ready for that. Okay, should we do one more? I think we should. All right, I'm just going to set this aside at a nice place that it can dry. And I'm just grabbing the next one I have, which is the blue one. Okay. Coming back to this. Yes. And a little of this. I didn't use this one on the one we just colored in. I'm going really random. So, you know, if you're wondering how am I deciding on shape, I'm not. I'm just getting some bits. Okay. Do I want that little bit? Why not? Okay, I got one, let's see, that I didn't use yet in this one. There we go, with the big writing. And let's just get a little swatch of this. Now you're going to say, well, that's 4, and it makes your eye want to do this. Yes, but it doesn't matter because these are for collage. So let's get my glue paper and let's get these glued on. I'm so happy that you're doing this with me today. I appreciate it so much. Many of you know I've been sick. I am doing better. But people ask, you know, what can I do for you? What can we do? Honestly, right now, the things that help me the most is watching my videos, liking, subscribing, sharing it with your friends. If you like the video, if you're finding it helpful, if you're finding it useful. I'm already thinking in my mind as I do the gluing, what colors do I want to add? And maybe I should have some of this right up to the edge. I think I should. My glue stick is an Elmer's, and it's called Extra Strength. It does not say washable. I find the ones that say washable are the least sticky, which makes sense, right? School, designed for children, and none of those are for me. Okay, good. I think one more. Yeah, little one. Okay. So rinse and repeat. Grabbing my number 6, wetting my brush. I'm going right into this English red. Going right around the edge. A little more paint. All right, I'm going to add to it a little sepia. Now, if you have a printer and you can scan these, you'll be able to use them time and again and for different things. But watercolor paper, for me, trying to use it in journals and things, it is not, it doesn't want to fold, and it is so heavy, and it's not the easiest to glue on. I mean, I've glued these on, but I can see where they want to lift here and there, and that's okay for this, because this actual sheet is not going to go in a journal or on a bookmark or something like that. But it's so absorbent that instead of letting the glue stick, I'm just going to drag my brush in this sepia. Is that sepia? No, burnt sienna. There we go. Now, before I started working on these with you, I went ahead and scanned just the blank color wash papers. I sure did. Okay. Could see where I missed some of the white. Okay. Yep, I like that. Rinse. Now, this has blues and greens, and then I splattered it with a little very, very faint purple. I'm going to go into one of the blues, the ultramarine blue, and a little bit of water. And I'm going to put it right up here. And it's going to mix with these greens and stuff. That's fine. Okay. I'm going to go right over. Why not? Those of you who enjoy gel printing, this is just another way that you can use one of your gel print pages, and you can just layer on some paints. Now, most of the time people that do gel printing are using acrylics, so your Poscas will work fine, and you may just want to use acrylic for the part that I'm doing with watercolor. But I think that could be really, really pretty. All right, little water, working awful dry here. Little more water. I can see where the blue really hugged that edge, and I love it. Okay, I like that. Rinse my brush, and I'm going into what they call bright blue. It's almost like a tealy kind of a blue. A little more water. Get this water off. Okay. Should we go right off the edge? Why not? Looking good. Bright blue is what I used. I really like the way it clings to the torn edge. Which one? This one. Okay. Should I go with a purple? This is called Violet. Now I've got some white gouache in there, so I'm going to try to avoid the white gouache. But if it gets in there, it's all right. Gouache is a type of watercolor that's not as transparent, but it is still watercolor. Okay. Right off the edge again. A little bit of water, a little bit of color. A little bit of water, a little bit of color. The paper is seeming more absorbent than ever now that I'm doing watercolor on top of watercolor. Okay. Looks a little weirdy streaky, but I'm not disliking that. That's okay. All right. I think we need some green. So I'm rinsing my brush, drying off up here, tip in the water, picking up some of this green that we used to make those leaves. The one that splashed. Yeah. Let's use that. And this time, I think I'm going to stop at the overlay. Now it's sneaking into that raw edge again. And you know I love that, so let her go. But I'm just not going all the way on top of the document. So I got these documents, in case you didn't catch the other videos, from the Library of Congress, and they have a section that's called Use and Reuse. And as far as they know, it is not copywritten, but they suggest you check before you use it. And it's a free download. So I downloaded the documents and printed them up to add to my artwork. Okay, now that I'm turning this around, this looks like it's leaning into me. I'm just going to get some more green. There, I think that's kind of evened up the score a little bit. All right, I'm going to put some more green on. And maybe right here. And again, I'm going to not go over the other, either the blue or the document. But these Rosa Gallery paints, not lifting a whole lot, but glazing over, which is what I call what I'm doing, is I'm glazing over the paint, adding another layer. And I'm happy with the results. I'm not scooping up the paint that's underneath. Okay, I think we need a little bit more. Again, I'm turning it up here. I'm going into a color called cerulean blue, but I'm going to put it right here with the aquamarine. This is aquamarine. So, where are we going? Think, think. Now, you could do circles, you could do triangles. I just am getting some more of this cerulean blue. I just am feeling like I've got the irregular documents. So I'm not going quite as irregular. And then also, when I go to doodle on this, again, I'm going to be adding. Now, one of the things I hope you're noticing, I'm not using rubber stamps. I'm not using stencils because I want to reproduce this. And I don't have stencils or rubber stamps that are my own design. So I'm not using it. That's why I'm not using other collage papers other than I'm just using what I know is, I'm not infringing on someone else's copyright. All right, I'm going into what? I'm going to try a yellow. I'm going to try Cad Lemon. I'm going to go right in this yellow spot. And I'm going to just, and it may lift up a little bit or just kind of an optical mix, which is when you're kind of mixing colors on the paper. It may go green. And I don't care. I'm just filling in a little bit. I need a little water, little paint. As I say, this is way more absorbent. Okay. Yes, I like that. Let's do another one. Get that Cad yellow. Oh, I'm sorry, Cad lemon. And maybe a little one here. I think these are adding a nice little spark of light. I'm liking it. Yep. I'm turning it. Tipping the water, a little bit of pigment onto my palette. Now when I go to doodle, I may just doodle with the same pattern in all these yellow boxes. I don't know. I'm just thinking ahead. Don't even know what I'm going to have for lunch, but I'm thinking ahead on this. It feels so good to get back at my desk. I can't tell you. Okay, I think I'm going to put some yellow here, and I'm going to go with the triangle. I think I'm in a place that you can see. Good. Okay. Now, let's do some splatters. Remember I told you I've got up here, this is white gouache. I'm just going to pick it up because, again, it's watercolor, but it's not transparent. I have titanium white here, and it's supposed to be more transparent. All right, let's get some blotches, some spots. Okay, I'm going to get us a little more water because I can see I've got some little bumps of paint there. They can get used. They don't need to hide. They should be happy to be used, right? Little water. And I'm doing a nice job in cleaning up my palette here. These are coming out finer, the dots. Could be the brush, could be the paint. It just, there's no telling. But I like that. Okay, well, let's take a look. So, I want to put my paints where I don't end up with paint all over my carpet. And we've got this one. And we've got this one. And next time we get together, we're going to be doodling manias, okay? In the meantime, please consider hitting the like. It does help my channel so much. Subscribe if you haven't. Today's a great day to subscribe. A video is going to pop up here, and I will see you over there.